Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining me. Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education underneath Donald Trump, has said that she is seriously considering defunding any school that does not open and open publicly. In other words, open and children go to the facilities. Not that she wants to make sure that education continues in some type of format. She wants to make sure that people go to these facilities. And this is trickling down to the state level. There's similar pressures across the state. We've been discussing this. There's a couple of things, a couple of different ways I want to talk about this. These are some seriously evil people. I try to avoid moralistic language because there's a complexity to their motivations that goes beyond them just being villainesque, right? These kind of cartoonish villains with what it seems to be no practical motivation to their evil. You know how cartoon villains, nobody really takes time to explain why these villains are so evil in cartoon movies and some poorly written movies and poorly written books, right? I try to not just use that label because it oversimplifies what's going on underneath it. But sometimes we take too much time trying to explain the machinations of these people, and we need to just shorthand, just call it what it is. These are extremely wicked people who have no concern about the well-being, not even the well-being. They have no concern about your life, because none of these people who are making decisions about your children going to school and your spouses having to go to school to teach them in the middle of this, at the beginning of this pandemic. None of them have their own children in those predicaments. Those children, their children, are going to be homeschooled by highly paid tutors, while they send your children and your spouses into these petri dishes for viruses. And so I usually spend a lot of time trying to break it down and show you the motivation and how this is going to funnel money to private schools and to charter schools, and show you how it's going to weaken the political unions. And so to just call it evil is oversimplifying some really nefarious political machinations, right? But these bastards are just evil. They don't care about your well-being. They do not care about the well-being of our children. All they care about is their own individual agenda that has always come at our expense. Make no mistake, right? It just so happens that for them to get what they want, it means that some of us have to die. A lot of us have to die. That's the same calculation they've always been able to make, but now they've always made, rather. That's the same calculation they have always made, but it was not as quick and definitive as a virus like COVID-19. The decisions that they have been making have put us, for years, we've been on a track with climate disaster. Their decisions have put us on a road to climate disaster that is going to displace hundreds of millions of people across the globe. Significant upheaval. Like they have us on the road, but to them, that's far away, right? But now they have shortened the amount of time between their bad decisions and the impact of their bad decisions. And right now, they are throwing us in a situation where thousands of teachers across the country are scrambling, trying to figure out how are they going to survive without having to put their lives at risk. How are they going to feed their kids without putting their lives at risk for COVID-19? Now, I have zero tolerance for anybody who's not taking this serious. Anyone who thinks that this is a conspiracy theory, like anyone who doesn't think that the 132,000 people who are dead is a real number. These are real people. I mean, just think about the fact that most of us already know somebody or somebody that knows somebody who has died from this virus. Most of us. You can't go through your social media timeline and not see a story of someone dying. So how is it? Never mind. Like I said, I don't have time for that foolishness. If you want to be a moron and you want to be intentionally obtuse and you want to drink. See, here, I do have to say this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on these idiots, but I do have to say this. It is the utmost ridiculous that the same people who tell you not to be so concerned and worked up over COVID-19, they are so concerned and worked up over George Soros. Or they are so concerned and worked up over some LGBTQ legislation that just passed. They want you to be concerned and worked up over the thing that has their mind wrapped up and locked up in conspiracy theories, but they don't want you to be upset or concerned or activated and mobilized around the very real virus that is spreading around this country. I just had to put that there, but now I no longer have time for them. If it was not for this pandemic, we'd have to pull up on a couple of folks because they're running their mouths too much, making too many people dismiss the science, right? You have people with influence who are out there spreading these lies, and you have more and more people who are buying into their propaganda and their conspiracy theories, not taking this thing seriously. So if not for this pandemic, we'd have to pull up on some of them because they are putting lives at risk, just like the president of the United States is, just like the secretary of education is, just like the superintendents across the country that are not allowing distance learning to be a thing. They are putting lives at risk, and people are going to get sick and die. Not all of them, but everyone is that. See, here's the other thing. People are like, oh, well, they all recovered. Have you actually seen what recovery looks like? Recovery does not look like you go back to normal. Recovery in some cases looks like you have to be on oxygen the rest of your life. People have had to have transplants, amputations, right? They've lost the permanent loss of sense and smell in some cases. This thing is hitting on. I mean, people who have recovered have turned around and had strokes and heart attacks. People who are asymptomatic have had strokes and heart attacks. And so while you may not have the worst of the respiratory illness, you are affected in other ways. So what I'm saying this because I know a lot of people understand this, but what we cannot afford is for people to become complacent because of this really idiotic idea that, oh, I stand a good chance of recovering. You do stand a good chance of recovering, but have you seen the people who have recovered and the very permanent damage that is going to be, that we don't even understand the scale and the scope of at this point? All right. I'm sorry. I did not mean to spend that much time discussing the morons, but the morons are actually going to contribute to people getting hurt. Maybe not as much as Donald Trump, but certainly they're playing a role in this. And so we need to just outright reject. Do not waste time. Call them morons, call them idiots, and move on like I'm moving on. Continuing on with the original conversation. I usually try to go through painstaking efforts to help you understand the motivations of people. And I do believe that Betsy DeVos has significant motivations behind trying to force people back into the schools, not back to school, but back into the buildings, which is significantly different. Yes, education should and can continue and probably would be even better in a virtual format. But I digress. At the end of the day, no matter what their motivations are, the leaders of this country have shown themselves to be malevolent. They are showing themselves to be willing to stand by and watch. Literally, this is no longer hyperbole, right? 130,000 people die. And now they are putting teachers and students and parents in impossible situations where now teachers are having to decide, am I just going to end my career here and save my life and we won't have any income, but we'll try to figure out how we'll pay our bills? Or do I go out to work and potentially bring home a virus that could not only kill me, but could kill my family? I'm sorry if to anyone I sound alarmist, but the alarm should have been sounded a long time ago. We should have been hitting the ground on this over the summer. I'm late to the party just like everybody else is late. I was one day ahead of the rest of the country, but that doesn't count for nothing other than me patting myself on the back, which apparently I just did. So forgive me for that. But the point is that we should have been sounding the alarm a long time ago, because the teachers are now across this country are now in impossible situations, having to choose between feeding their kids and putting their kids' life at risk. That's the decision that Betsy DeVos, who has no skin in the game except for her profit margins, her investments in charter schools, her investments across the country in educational organizations. She has her only motivation in this is how she can profit, because there's literally nothing about her decision or her possible decision to defund schools if they don't allow people, or force rather people, to go into the schools. There's nothing about that decision that shows anything but a lack of concern about the well-being of the people who have to go into those enclosed structures with recycled air circulating through the building, where one student can infect multiple classrooms. We are dealing with a level of malevolence that I cannot overstate. All the time, I try to avoid using moralistic and religious terminologies in the show, even though I am well steeped in them and very capable of putting all of this in a religious context. But this one I got to call. I got to call this for what it is. Donald Trump and his administration, Betsy DeVos, they are literally wickedness in high places. They are the wicked actors on this earth in high places that is leading to the destruction. The destruction of the country, fine, so be it. But the destruction of lives, death. They are literally standing by, making profit, or creating the situation or creating the terms through which their friends, their colleagues, their associates, if Donald Trump is not directly profiting from this, he's created the condition for his friends to make money off of this. And they're doing it at the expense of human lives. That is the literal definition of wickedness in high places. And the irony of it is that you have a lot of Christians who run behind this man and run behind this ideology, and they run behind this weaponized ignorance, and they celebrate him as if he is the Messiah. They celebrate him as if he is like God's favorite child and God's chosen one, when he is literally the thing that they preach against every single Sunday. Trump and his administration and all the people who are complicit with this, and I'm going to lump in all the people who are not shouting at the top of their lungs to prevent this, even though they have the political power to help avoid this calamity that we're going towards. Right? I'm not letting anybody skate by. If you are a person with political power and you have the ability to fight this, maybe you can't stop it, but if you have the ability to apply your political power and bring it to bear to fight this tooth and nail, even at the expense of your political career, if you're not doing that, then I must lump you in with that same group of people who are literally wicked people in high places. And we have been led to destruction. We have come to a point in America, in American history, where the government is actively engaging in activities, policies, and propaganda that will get their own citizens killed. And it seems like nobody's paying attention to this except for the people. It seems like nobody is concerned about this except for the people. But the powerful are fully aware of this. But the powerful have clearly abdicated their responsibility to provide for the common good of the people. And because of that, we have to do it ourselves. And while we do it, we need to let them know that we are rejecting our consent to be governed by a government that has failed us. I take this extremely personally. I spent years as a teacher, but that's irrelevant. Most of my family, 4 out of 6 siblings in my family are teachers. 4 out of 6. And this is hitting us right at home as we scramble to try to find out how do we keep them from having to go out and be exposed to COVID-19 just to take care of their families. I would be just as passionate about this if I had nobody in my family that was a teacher. Actually, I would be relieved and I could give all of my energy to fighting on behalf of this versus spending a lot of my days trying to figure out how I'm going to fix my immediate family problems, right? But this problem is replicated across the country. There are hundreds of thousands of teachers in this country who are going to be faced with this conundrum that is brought on by the stubbornness and the wickedness of this administration and their local administration. And quite possibly it could be the case that when this is all said and done, everyone would be doing distance learning, right? Everyone would be doing virtual instruction. But that's not going to come unless we apply immense pressure right now. The pressure has to be applied right now. We cannot wait and cross our fingers and hope that they're going to make the right decision. We have to apply pressure now and let them know that if they don't make the right decision, then the people are going to have to rise up. I keep avoiding certain type of language because I would rather be the Disney dad at home watching my kids barbecue or jump on the trampoline as I barbecue. That's how I want to spend my summer. But they're forcing us into a situation where we're going to have to do a whole lot more than enjoy a sunny summer in quarantine. They're trying to force us out of quarantine and into the labor force because of why? Because it provides Betsy DeVos the strategy that she needs to strip public funding from education and give it to private schools, right? Whatever the motivation is, their plans are forcing our hand. And if these schools and the superintendents and the commissioners of educations in the individual states and the federal level Department of Education, if they do not do the right thing, they are going to force the people to rise up and to respond in kind. We are going to have to. I do not want to, but we are going to have to. And we need to let it be known right now that we are not going to tolerate this. We are not going to let them push our family members, our friends, people. I don't care if you don't even know them. I don't want some random person that I've never met and I will never meet. I don't want that individual to be forced into a classroom and potentially get COVID-19 any more than I want my sisters to. So I swear to God, if they don't do the right thing, then we're going to do the right thing and we're going to have to take them out of power. We cannot sit by and try to navigate and try to negotiate a sociopathic government that's willing to kill us for their own benefit. I don't want, okay. The reason it's necessary for me to just go ahead and say these things, it's because they need to know the score. And they need to know the score right now. They being the government, they being the school districts, the superintendents, anyone who has the ability to make this happen. You need to understand the score. And I want you to hear me clearly. If you put our families' lives at risk, then we must come for you. And you can interpret that however you want to interpret it. The FBI already has my file. They know where I live. But you need to understand clearly, there will be repercussions for this. There will be repercussions for you making decisions that is going to lead to the death of friends and families and strangers. I need you to understand that I will fight on behalf of people I don't even know. And I got a whole squad of people who believe the same thing. We are not going to sit by and watch. I swear to God, the hardest thing to do is to just make the decision that you have had enough. And this has to be where we draw the line, people. This must be where we draw the line. We will not, I want you to hear us clearly. We will not sit by and watch this government kill our citizens, our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters. We will not do it. And simply step back and say, oh, well, we got to wait till we go vote in November. What? What? You thought you saw protests. You thought you saw riots. Do you understand what you're playing with, Mr. Superintendent? Do you understand what you're playing with, Commissioner of Education? Betsy DeVos clearly doesn't know what she's playing with. Because you cannot expect people to sit underneath the boot of an oppressor and watch you attempt to kill the people that we love and expect us to do nothing? To do nothing? You got mad because a Wendy's burned down there in Atlanta. And you need to understand this now so that you can make the right decision now, so that we can completely avoid this, and so that all these hundreds of thousands of teachers can stay home, log on to their computer, give these kids the very best time that they have, give them the very best education, enhance the education even more with far more multimedia tools, none of the distractions of 30 kids in one single classroom, with the assistance of parents who are staying at home so they have an opportunity to view their kids and see if their kid is acting an ass in class. Like, it actually can yield better results. We are in a situation where the government, if it did the right thing, it actually would yield better results for the people, better results for the country. But they are so malevolent that they are willing to just let people die versus doing the right thing, which would yield better results for this country. I want to make it clear. I need the decision makers to hear this clearly. I think I might take the time to actually clip this and put this out by itself. But if you don't make the right decision and your decision leads to the deaths of a single teacher, then you need to understand that the people are going to have no choice. We will be forced to stand up and make sure that this does not happen to anyone else. And that includes removing you from power. I think some of the problem is that most people don't really calculate the severity of the current situation until that severity is brought right to their doorsteps. I'm not that person. I have been calculating the severity of what's going on around us since before everybody else. I think the only person who really was calculating the severity of this more than me, before me, would probably be Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Just on his Twitter timeline and how he brought so much attention to it. I caught wind of this around early February. We started quarantining in my house February 27th. And we did that because I forgot exactly what day that was. I think that was a Thursday. I could look it up, but I'm not. The 2 days prior to that, when we still lived in Atlanta, there was a teacher in Atlanta who was not far from where we lived, who went to 2 different schools and they were positive with COVID-19. Like, I mean, within miles in the same area. So we were like, F that, we're quarantining. The reason I'm saying all this is because I've taken this serious for a very long time. And I'm afraid that there are a lot of people who probably could be concerned and express some and do some right things. I think a lot of people aren't going to be concerned until it hits home, until it becomes a threat to them. Because I still see people whose primary political action at this point is to say, well, let's vote Donald Trump out. And I'm like, yeah, let's vote Donald Trump out. But do you know how many people could die between now and January 20th when he leaves office? We got to do something right now. Voting is not going to fix what's going to happen between now and January. You need to vote. You need to get your absentee ballot now or your mail-in ballot. Go ahead and get it now. It's important. Yeah, I get it. It totally is. However, that ain't going to fix what's happening in the schools. That's not going to fix all of these 60,000 new cases yesterday. Voting is not the solution to this problem. You need to vote. But my God, if you have political power and the only thing that you're talking about right now is voting in November, then you are a problem. Because we need people, we need more than my little ass podcast screaming at the top of my lungs. We need more than this. We need more than this. We need people with power to do something. And you need to do something yesterday. Hell, you need to do something back in February. But we can't worry about what's past, but we certainly can put the pressure on for the future. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. At this point in every single episode, I'd like to take a minute to really just to let my hair down, all that I have left, and take a breather to thank the people who make the show possible. Very special welcome to Cosmo Benger. Thank you for becoming a patron. Sahil M. Thank you for becoming a patron. Lee Meredith. Thank you for becoming a patron. Everybody bop. Aaron Davis, thank you for becoming a patron. Dark Ashtar, I love it. Thank you for becoming a patron. And either Lalo or Lalo, thank you for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content, uncut, unfiltered interviews, none of the commercial interruptions, and you give me the ability to speak truth to power and speak power to the powerless, whether the powerful like it or not.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yeah. All right. So what do we do about it? One, we have to let them know. We absolutely have to let the powerful know that we are not going to tolerate this. We are not. And if they do this, then there will be an uprising like they have never seen. I mean, I just imagine the first teacher dying from COVID-19 in the school year would be enough for us to really tear this entire thing down. And we need to let them know that our willingness to do that unapologetically. If you're afraid of doing that, hell, I'm afraid of going out in the pandemic, but I swear to God, we're going to have to do what we have to do. They cannot just put our lives at risk like this and we got to respond. It's just, we are less than human. We are less than human if we do not defend our own right to live. We cannot go like mindless automatons and participate in this system when it puts us at risk of dying from a virus that we don't even have a treatment for. We don't even have a treatment for. And when I say treatment, I'm not talking about a cure or a vaccine. I'm talking about a treatment that can mitigate the effects, the symptoms, the feeling, the constant feeling of suffocation. We don't have anything to even ameliorate the suffering of people. And this government is sending us back. They're demanding that we go back and put not just teachers and our loved ones, but our children at risk. And what? We are not supposed to stand up for ourselves because it's uncivil, because it's insurrection, because it is a sedition. What? At what point do we stand up for our own lives? And they need to know that now so that we don't have to go through that then. If they think they can get away with it, they're going to do it. And we need to let them know that they will not get away with it. That's number one. Number two, I don't know if you're capable of doing this, but if you are, I want to give you an example of what we're doing in our micro, in my family. We are discussing consolidating homes. Most of my family, and actually all my family, we rent. Every single one of us rents, right? We're not wealthy. None of us are rich. We all are lower middle class, and we're renting. And I'm sorry, but fuck a landlord. We are going to consolidate homes as much as we can. We have started to streamline our reduce significantly our consumption. And what we're going to do is those of us who actually can make money from home, we're streamlining our expenses enough, and we're creating a pool with all the extra money that we have left over to take care of those that have the teachers who are going to be nobody in my family is going out in this pandemic. I don't care if I got to cut the internet off and do my show via cell phone. Okay. I'm not letting anybody in my family go out into this pandemic as much as I can afford it. And if you're able to do that, I don't know your scenario. I don't know if you've even thought like this, but fuck a landlord and fuck a job. Take care of your family or take care of your friends. Take care of your circle. Take care of your friends, your immediate surround. As much as you can, do what you can. Not everybody is going to be able to do that. I get it. Some of you need to be the recipient of that. But the government is not going to take care of us. We have to take care of ourselves. And in the meantime, we got to let the government know that we are not going, number one, we are not going to sit idly by while they kill us. We're not going to tolerate it. And they need to understand the seriousness. I need them to hear the seriousness in my voice. They better be glad that my family's big enough that we probably can take care of ourselves, and I'm pretty sure we can keep everyone quarantined. But you see how serious I am about fighting for people I don't know? Imagine what the hell I would do if something happened to one of my family members. Let's take care of ourselves so we don't have to come through that threshold. Love somebody, love yourself. I'll see you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.